Today, I'm going to go over how testing can make website decisions easier with guidelines tailor-made for your site. As you mentioned, I am the UX analyst at DSGA, and I have to confess, usability testing is one of my favorite things to collaborate on with our agencies. In the next few minutes, we'll take a look at what usability testing is. The point of today's talk is that a website can look great or absolutely stunning, but if it frustrates the users that go there, they're going to leave hating the experience. We'll also look at situations when testing can be useful for your organization. Then we'll look at how testing can help you. We've always had usability testing baked into larger web projects, but now you can request usability testing individually. So we'll cover that today as well. Next, if you think usability testing is for you, we'll take an inside peek at how the process works. And finally, we'll look at an example case study from testing we've done in the past. So in a nutshell, what is usability testing? Usability testing is used to assess how easy it is to use your website or digital product. And it's done specifically by giving a tester tasks to complete while their behavior is being observed. So if we look at the process like going to a restaurant, your website might be the menu, and the tester might be a hungry person interacting with the menu to complete the task of ordering food. If they receive exactly what they expected, your website would rank high for that task in a usability test. Now, one difference between this metaphor and usability testing is that users are being observed while they're going through the tasks. They might be watched by someone like me facilitating the test, or their behavior can be tracked with a testing app. Either way, the test results are analyzed by a human to note common pain points and other issues. Whoops. Mixing my thing here. When you think about website tests in general, there are a lot to choose from depending on who you are and what you need. But the first thing to remember is that usability testing observes real people using your website. In addition to that, usability tests are not focused on theory. The tests are always task-based, and they require the user to complete common tasks on your site. I'd like to take a moment right now just to emphasize that a user's very first instinct is so important that we have a special usability test just to track it. It's called a first click test. This is because the visitor's very first move on a website is an excellent indicator of their eventual success. When a website user's first click is correct, they are 2 to 3 times more likely to complete the task they're doing successfully. Now, I'd like to look at another common issue usability testing can detect. This time, it's about the difference between assuming we know how the user thinks versus observing how the user really thinks. Did you catch the difference there? I'm going to let you in on a little insider information within our team. Whenever we welcome a new team member to our group, they'll likely be asked whether or not they think a hot dog is a sandwich. If you define a sandwich as meat between any 2 pieces of bread, then yes, a hot dog is a sandwich. If you insist a hot dog bun is an exception to the 2 pieces of bread rule because of the shape, the size, or whether or not the bun is still intact along one side, then the answer is no, a hot dog is not a sandwich. There is no wrong answer here, just different ways of thinking. Back to usability testing, let's pretend one of your website forms is like a hot dog. If your website defines a hot dog one way, but most of your users defines a hot dog differently, it's very likely they're going to get lost looking for the hot dog. Usability testing can tell you how your users are classifying something on your website, so you can either relabel it or move it to the location where your users are looking for it. Testing reveals where users get stuck, confused, or even give up and drop off. But the best part is this kind of testing also gives you insights into why users are frustrated. It can be a logical next step after looking at site analytics on a platform like SiteImprove. You can use many of the insights that Amanda just talked about earlier today about your site analytics. And one of my favorite things about usability testing is you can make changes to your website with confidence. You'll know each suggestion is backed by real-world evidence from your user's point of view. So let's dig a little deeper, huh? Let's see where this evidence comes from. And we're going to do that by making a case for usability testing and why it's critical for your agency. Frustrated users leave. Satisfied users tell everyone around them how great you are, and who does not want that? Continuing with our foodie theme, most websites are more complex than a simple hot dog cart. So let's move our metaphor to a full-service sit-down dinner. I don't know if y'all recognize that, but that is the Cheesecake Factory menu, if anyone's ever been there. If customers can't find what they want on the menu or reach a server to place an order, they might just leave. But our users don't usually have the luxury of doing that. Usability testing will reveal the gaps between what you think you're serving and what people are actually experiencing. Now let's take this menu, for example. If you sat down to eat and saw this, how would you know what to order? Are the pineapple puffs a dessert? What if they were stuffed with meat and cheese and they're actually an appetizer? When users go to your website, are they getting the information they need? Is the content organized the way your visitors expect it to be? Or is it organized according to the way your organization is used to discussing it with each other? For example, this menu might be very helpful to the head chef, but not very helpful to a diner with a nut allergy. Remember, the average web user just wants to know where to go first to get their task done. And if they know where to click first, they're 2 to 3 times more likely to complete it. So now I'd like to invite you to close your eyes for just a moment and think about your favorite restaurant. Consider why you like it. Is it because you know they'll always have your favorite dish prepared your favorite way and it's always going to taste delicious? Is it because you trust that the atmosphere will always be the one you expect to match the mood when you chose that restaurant? Is it because you trust the service? If you haven't caught already, the key word here is trust. You can open your eyes if you did close them. These days, we can do almost anything online, from ordering groceries, depositing a check, customizing a birthday card, booking doctor appointments, and yes, making dinner reservations. So in the private sector, we expect most of these services and tasks to be completed pretty easily. And when they're not, the company loses our trust. Now, according to one study, 89% of millennials expect organizations to use technology just as smoothly as the private sector, and 73% believe online experiences are even more important than in-person ones. Tuning to a study in 2023, a White House brief noted that 45% of federal websites were not mobile friendly, and 60% of the sites had accessibility issues. That's a lot. Now, there is a lot to consider when working on a government website. Many organization sites are complex with lots of information and services to juggle. Also, you have many stakeholders also wanting to chime in and give their information. But the additional complexity is what I would argue is the reason why usability testing is even more important to keep your users in the forefront. Now, let's look at a couple of things that usability testing can do for you internally. We've already discussed the first 2 items on the list, which are more customer-facing. But in addition to whether or not users can find something or whether they're getting confused, usability testing can benefit you internally by cutting down on support tickets and phone calls. It can help you avoid content design guesswork when you're reorganizing something, and it can reduce you having to redo an area of the website. And when all of the above is identified and dealt with, usability testing can improve website visitor satisfaction and, again, trust. Now, some common things we'll see when doing usability testing include when visitors don't know where to click. We can see when content is missed or misunderstood, or users don't trust they'll find what they need. And we can even tell at what point a form is being abandoned. So Now let's see what exactly you get if you do a usability test with us and how DSGA can help you. Consider us to be the mystery diners of your digital experience. We see what your real customers are going through, and then we help turn your site into a 5-star digital experience. We can tell you if your customer got a plate full of tapas when what they really wanted was a bowl of soup. When you work with us on usability testing, you'll get a clear list of what's working and what's not. If needed, you'll get visuals showing exact behavior data. This example, this image on the right, is an example of whether someone went directly to complete their task or if they had to backtrack a couple of times through a few dead ends first. In addition to that, you'll also receive a prioritized list of improvements for your site. These suggested improvements could be as big as how a site or section is organized, or it could be as simple as tweaking the language on a call to action button. But most importantly, you'll have confidence in your next round of updates or content reorganization. Usability testing can identify so many different things you might be getting a little overwhelmed, like where do I even start? So here are a few times when you might consider getting usability testing done. If you're planning to reorganize a website section, you'd want to test the current site first so the new area can be easier to use, or you could test one like an A/B test. And to double check your ideas will still meet accessibility requirements. Also, when you're launching a new feature, you can test a prototype of it first. If you're frequently seeing abandoned forms, that could be another sign that it's a time to test that area. And all of these examples are just a handful of examples, but basically you can test anytime you want real customer insight to drive results. Now, getting all of these actionable insights might sound daunting, but it's only a 5-step process, and we do most of the heavy lifting. First, we'll have a kickoff meeting to define the goal. This could be based on analytics or support desk patterns, phone call trends, or anything else we've mentioned earlier in this presentation. Then second, after we identify the goal, we design the tasks for the test, and we review them with you so everybody's on the same page. When it's time to invite real diners to explore your site, that's the next step. And then you can just sit back and relax while we run the test for you. We'll note any friction between the tasks and the users. And in other words, do they get the soup when they order the soup? Then the fifth and finally, we'll serve up a results and recommendations report. This, as I mentioned before, is prioritized for you. And if stakeholders have questions, you've got evidence to share with them as to why you're making the decisions you're making. Before I move forward, you might be asking, okay, how is testing different from analytics? And what about site improve analytics? Do I really need usability testing if I have access to all of these trends? So earlier today, when Manda did a deep dive into the gap analysis and the site improve analytics, all of that information can set you up with a really strong foundation for usability testing. Numbers show us what is happening, but usability testing can help tell us why it's happening. Web analytics hint at areas where there could be a problem, but one problem could have multiple reasons behind it. Analytics are really good at shining a light on what one area might need more context around it, and then testing that area provides the context and narrows down what the solution might be. So site analytics and usability testing work really well together, pretty much hand in hand. So we've covered a lot today, but before I go, I'd like to give you a taste of how usability testing helped one of our agencies with a section of their website. This is a real case study, but names have been changed to protect the innocent. We were approached to look at a section of a website, and for this example, we'll just label it resources. They had many, many documents and pages here. However, in our initial assessment of the section, it appeared quite logical with a variety of topics categorized under what also appeared to be pretty easy to understand labels. In our discussions with the agency, we identified this was an area of the website meant to be seen by anyone, but often also used by internal groups within the organization. So for this example, we'll just say it was the support desk. So if it was logically organized and also mostly meant for people within the organization to use, Why weren't users finding out what they needed? So we decided to zoom out a little bit first and take a look at how people were actually getting to the section. What you're looking at here are the results from just one task on the test. It looks scary, but it's not, I promise. For the purpose of this example, let's have a little fun and pretend the task was to find information needed to open up a pop-up store during the month of October. Let's say it was a Halloween store. These lines show all the different paths users took and the names of all the pages users told us they would expect to find information on how to open a store. I'd like to draw your attention to the thin green line there near the bottom. That was the one path that led users to the correct paperwork needed to open the store. All the gray lines would have resulted in frustrated users not getting what they need. So here's the interesting part. It turns out it didn't matter how well the resources section was organized or that the labels seemed logical when nobody thought to look there in the first place for the answers. So we asked ourselves, well, what if instead of reorganizing the resources, what if we got rid of it and redistributed all that information throughout the website? And these are the results of the same task to open a store with the new menu. The green line again shows how many users took the correct path and chose it as where they would expect to find out how to open up their pop-up shop. Now, not every testing suggestion will result in something this dramatic. I love beautiful graphs like that. It's not always that clear-cut. However, even a small % of a difference can mean a lot when your audience is the population of Georgia. We actually ran a few more tests for this agency as part of a larger project, but as I mentioned at the beginning, we're now making usability testing an individual service you can ask for as well. Now, I know this has been a lot of information to digest, so here are a few takeaways you can take with you in your to-go box. First, if you've ever been indecisive about what to put where or how to phrase something, usability testing takes the guesswork out of decision making. Second, it can reveal invisible friction in completing tasks. And although it's not the same as accessibility testing, it can uncover areas that may need a second look through an accessibility lens. Later today, Mary will take a deeper dive into the upcoming DOJ deadline for accessibility, and you'll definitely want to stay for her talk. Third, usability testing puts users at the center of decision making, and this takes the stress off of you internally when everyone's got an opinion, and we know how that goes, but now you have evidence of what your users want and need. And internally, it makes content editing so much more easy and efficient because you have that confidence of all those numbers backing it up. So if you're ready to see how real users experience your site and give them a 5-star experience, please don't hesitate to reach out to Yen on our outreach team. She'll be happy to talk with you and determine if usability testing might meet your needs. And I guess that's the question QR code. Everyone's got that going. Get my glasses on here. Everyone good? Okay, great. And that's all from me today. Next up, we'll take a look at what we mean when we say accessible content is for everybody and every bot. Thanks, everybody.